Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. I'm Thomas Miller. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the free weekly newsletter that's published every weekend by MMAcycles.com. Ray Merriman, of course, an incomparable financial analyst and financial astrologer. This is being recorded and released on August 3rd for the week beginning August 5th. First of all, a news story from foxbusiness.com on the Labor Department report on Friday. U.S. job growth cooled sharply in July, while the unemployment rate unexpectedly rose to the highest level in nearly 3 years. The Labor Department reported Friday that employers added 114,000 jobs in July, missing the 175,000 job gain forecast by economists. The unemployment rate also unexpectedly inched higher to 4.3% against expectations that it would hold steady at 4.1%. It marked the highest level for the jobless rate since October of 2021. And this from also Friday's CNBC.com. The average rate on popular 30-year mortgage rates dropped 22 basis points to 6.4% on Friday, according to Mortgage News Daily. That's the lowest rate since April 2023. The 15-year fixed rate fell to 5.89%, its lowest rate since early May 2023. Now, Ray's commentary for a tough week on the markets. He says, the stunning collapse of world stock indices following all-time or yearly highs for many during the Mars-Uranus-Algol combustion of mid-July continued this week. Actually, many exhibited a secondary high on Wednesday, July 31st, as the Federal Reserve Board announced that there would not be an interest rate cut just yet, but probably in September, because the economy is now starting to show signs of weakness. Unemployment is going up and inflation is coming down, giving it room to ease. Yet, although that is what the Fed basically wanted to see before lowering rates, it also spooked the stock market, especially with unemployment starting to creep up. The Dow Jones Industrial Average promptly dropped over 1,800 points from Wednesday's high of 41,198 to Friday's low. That's a rout, and it keeps the Dow Jones Industrial Average on track for the 4-year cycle low by November that we have been alerting readers to about over the last month, even as far back as this year's Forecast 2024 book, which was written last November 2023. But the decline in the Dow Jones Industrial Average so far is rather benign compared to the NASDAQ. The tech-heavy NASDAQ futures market has now lost approximately 12.5% from its all-time high of July 11th. This is approaching our target of 16 to 26% decline between August and November of this year. It could be there by the time Jupiter squares Saturn on August 19th, plus or minus 10 days, a time band also discussed in this column, as well as our weekly and monthly subscription reports. It's all part of the collective psychology of Jupiter, optimism, leaving the favorable confines of Taurus, assets, and harmonious aspects to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, April through June, for the much more somber reality of Jupiter squaring Saturn, depression and loss of confidence, happening between August 2024 through June of 2025. It's the time between the first and second passages of this three-passage aspect that is most critical, and those take place in August and December 2024. Similar sharp declines were noted in other stock indices throughout the world. The patterns exhibited by the Nikkei and DAX, for instance, are not encouraging for bulls. However, we now begin another Mercury retrograde cycle, and the trickster has a notorious reputation for fake-outs and false moves. Precious metals also got hit late in the week. Gold made a secondary high double top on Friday at $25.22 in the December contract before falling to $24.53 within hours afterward. The all-time high in the December contract remains $23.3770, recorded on July 17th, during the Mars-Uranus-Algol period. Silver's struggles have been much more pronounced. After posting a 12-year high on May 20th at $32.75, silver plunged to 27.45 on July 29th, the prior week, a loss of 16%. However, it held above those levels last week, which offers some encouragement to the bulls. Yet a new high in gold on Friday, accompanied by a still subdued silver market, is a case of intermarket bearish divergence. Their intermediate-term cycles may have peaked unless both can make new weekly highs next week. Bitcoin also disappointed bulls after an initial surge of promise. On Monday, July 29th, Bitcoin breached 70,000 for the first time in nearly 2 months, but then it fell back again to support in the 62,000 area, represented by the 39-day moving average. If it can take out 70,000 again, it may decouple from stocks. That's the review for this week. Now the short-term geocosmics. From Peggy Noonan, published Friday in the Wall Street Journal. She says this year isn't like any previous time. This is the year of the sudden, historically disastrous debate, the near assassination of one of the nominees, the sudden removal of the president from his ticket, the sudden elevation of a vice president her own party had judged a liability, and her suddenly pulling even in a suddenly truncated campaign. We have never had a year like this, and it continues to astound. Kamala Harris just got 2 excellent weeks in the clear. Donald Trump's campaign had to take her down early, or at least hit her hard, and didn't. And this also from the Wall Street Journal from July 28th. The forces of American culture and politics are pushing men and women under age 30 into opposing camps, creating a new fault line in the electorate and adding an unexpected wild card in the 2024 presidential election. Young men now favor Republican control of Congress and Trump for president after backing Biden and Democratic lawmakers in 2020. Women under 30 remain strongly behind Democrats for Congress and the White House. They are also far more likely to call themselves liberal than 2 decades ago." End quote. Ray says the trickster returns this week. That is, another Mercury retrograde cycle will be upon us, August 4th and 5th, lasting through the 28th. Given the slew of hard aspects that will unfold this month, you get the feeling that this Mercury retrograde cycle could be especially nasty for traders. It's already off to a dismal start in the world equity markets that just ended one of their worst sell-offs of the year. It may be wise to keep in mind that this is late in the 4-year cycle. When markets make new highs late in a long-term cycle, declines are usually severe and very swift. There can be a mini panic, especially if Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus are involved in aspects close to one another. Friday, August 2nd, hosted Venus squaring Uranus. On August 14th, Mars will conjunct Jupiter. Then, from August 16th to 19th, Venus and Saturn will form a T-square to the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, the same day that the Sun will square Uranus. That's a lot of figurative electricity overload, more than the normal human grid can easily handle. It's a stellar recipe for chaos and geopolitical disruption. People are thinking outside the box, which can either be brilliant or a sign of craziness. Markets could either break down, break out, or suddenly reverse. With Uranus combined with Mercury retrograde, you just don't know which way the trickster will twist. A lot of money could be made if one is nimble and able to time it just right, but more than likely, stories will be told of how much money was lost. We don't usually advise day trading as a strategy, but this Mercury retrograde cycle might be an exception. I don't think it will be wise to leave yourself too exposed these next 3 weeks, though, if you're a trader. On the other hand, we are entering a time band for a 4-year cycle low, with many indices possibly dropping 16 to 25% off their highs. Thus, you might want some cash on hand for buying when this cycle ends, to be ready to purchase when the markets have fallen that much between now and November. When, or if that happens, there will be plenty of people willing to sell. They may have to sell to cover their own overdrawn margin accounts if Mercury retrograde and Uranus afflicted, on top of the mutable T-square with Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus, behave as the symbolism of this cosmic tsunami indicates is possible. Thus, traders have a choice via our market timing methodology. Either sit back on cash and wait for the elevator to hit the ground floor, then take advantage of the discounts, or try your luck at trading very short term and managing your risk wisely. And the same goes for politicians. There is incredible energy afoot right now. It can be very exciting and represent a time of sudden awareness, a new trend, as in going viral, or it can indicate a stupid mistake or an embarrassing revelation leading to a sudden reversal of fortune. Those who lean into the sentiment of unity are likely to fare better than those taking the risk of stoking divisions. Uranus is afflicted. This is not the time to be overreactive to personal attacks, but this advice is likely to be ignored by those who are driven by hubris, emotions, and personal sensitivities. The chances of making critical and costly errors are heightened during this month. Think twice before barking and twice again before biting. Gains can turn to sudden losses if one becomes unhinged. I can tell you that the kind of market week that I had this past week, I think Mercury is already in retrograde. Hey, you can get a discount on the 2025 next year's Merriman forecast book. Go online, MMAcycles.com, and check it out. It'll be the cheapest price you can get now. All right. Have a great rest of the weekend. Get some rest. We'll see you back on Monday here. Thanks so much for listening.